Stocks on Wall Street end lower. The S&P 500 declines for the fifth straight day ahead of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole later this evening. The Dow falls 150 points. Markets in Asia have opened mixed, tracking Wall Street's moves. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a slightly lower start for our own markets as well. Crude oil prices rise 1%, supported by signs of strong US demand and uncertainty around efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Gold prices have declined as the dollar firms up ahead of Jerome Powell's speech later this evening. A group of state finance ministers take the first step towards GST reforms. A high-powered committee recommends a two-slab structure with a 5% and 18% slabs as tax rates and 40% as a special rate. The proposal will need to be approved by the GST Council. And in confirmation of a CNBC-TV18 news break, HUL has named Niranjan Gupta as CFO designate effective the 1st of September. He succeeds Ritesh Tiwari, who moves to London as Unilever PLC's global head of M&A and Treasury from November onwards. It's the final trading day of the week. We get you all the action in the next 30 minutes. You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV18 in the Mumbai News Centre. I'm Hormas Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets have started off. And, well, it's a mixed picture so far that the Asian markets are projecting. The Hang Seng currently trading with gains of around 0.6%. Of course, we just saw some macro data emerging from Japan where the core CPI was higher than the Bank of Japan's trajectory, but it was still lower on a year-on-year basis, and as a result of which the Nikkei has managed to claw back some of the losses and it is now trading in positive territory. The Kospi in South Korea is trading with gains of 1%. The Shanghai Composite 2 trading 0.4% higher. The only underperformance though is coming from the Taiwanese index. They are trading below the flat line, just around 0.2% lower as we speak. So pull up the GIFT Nifty as well. We've been on the back of a 6-day winning streak and the implied open is currently suggesting a 42-point downtick. But as has been the case over the last few trading sessions, every time there has been a dip in the initial minutes of trade, that dip has been very quickly bought into. But it will be interesting to see how our own markets move during the day, because we are coming on the back of a 6-day winning streak and poised for a second straight weekly advance as well. Our research team is here to tell you what the trade setup looks like and the stocks that are likely to be in the news as well. First up, Vinny joins in to get all the market cues that we need to watch out for today. Vinny, good morning. Well, after 6 days, some resistance around the 25,150 mark, but what are the important cues you are tracking today?
Hi Hormas, good morning. Obviously, it merits some bit of that resistance given the 6-day gaining streak that we've seen. Yesterday also we managed to close about 25,000. But let's take the cues that are coming in from the US market. Now, US market actually closed lower in yesterday's trading session. S&P 500 ended lower for the 5th straight day. Walmart, the retailer, that also slipped in trade. They missed estimates. So that concern comes in from some of the retailers and exporters in India. Keep an eye out on the Powell speech. Everyone is just watching out for that this week. Right, that's going to be the key one from the Jackson Hole Symposium. So, US market still awaiting that data point. Now, Trump administration even made some comments that said that they are reviewing all the 55 million US visas for potential deportable violations that could come in. So, there's a review coming in on that front as well. Now, FIIs continue to be sellers in yesterday's trading session. Buyers, I beg your pardon, they actually were buyers in yesterday's trading session. 1,246 crores, and even DIIs were buyers of 2,546 crores. So, yes, FII buy coming in after a couple of days of sell that we saw. Cues for trade today that keep an eye out on Apollo Hospitals. We're expecting a block deal here where Sunita Reddy will be selling some stake. So, important to watch out for Apollo Hospitals. Also, PM Modi made some comments coming in on that online gaming bill that was passed in both parliaments. He said that this is a commitment of India focusing on India becoming a gaming hub as well as protecting from harmful effects of online money gaming as well. So, important updates that come in there and gaming stocks could be in focus. Also, PM Modi will be visiting Bihar, and where he is planning to launch or, unveiling infra projects worth 18,000 crores in Bihar and West Bengal. So, that is going to be key. Nifty, obviously, 25,000 above that market what it closed yesterday as well. Sixth straight day of gain. Today, as of now, Nifty implied open is indicating a downtick of 40 points. But, will we see a buy coming in again at every dip? That is something that we'll be watching out for.
Indeed, 50 points lower now is what the implied open is suggesting. Vinny, thank you for that update with the important cues that you need to track today. Over to Upasna now to list out the stocks that you need to keep an eye out for ahead of today's session. Upasna, good morning. What's on your list?
Good morning, Hormaz. Firstly, let me start with Vedanta. The board has approved second interim dividend of rupees 16 per share for FY26. Hence, this stock will be in focus. Next up is Wipro. It aims to acquire 100% stake in Harman Connected Services for $375 million is what the company has indicated. HUL will also be in focus as it announces a management rejig. Niranjan Gupta as CFO with effect from 1st November 2025. NTPC Green will also be in focus as ARM declares commercial operation of third-part capacity of Khavda Solar Energy Plant project. SJVN will also be in focus as company successfully synchronizes first unit of thermal power project with the national grid. PTC Industries also on our radar as company has successfully bagged order worth 110 crore from Brahmos Aerospace Private Limited. This is mainly for the supply of critical titanium castings. Titagarh Rail Systems also on our radar as company has secured LOI worth nearly 467 crore from GRSE for ship construction of 2 vessels is what the company has indicated. Next up is Enviro Infra. The company has received LOI for acquisition of Vento Power, which is nearly around 115 crores. Next up is Texmaco Rail. Even that will be in focus as company bags orders worth 103 crores for wagons and brake van from Leap Grain Rail Logistics. And lastly, Apollo Hospitals will also be in focus on the back of the block deal. According to sources, promoter Sunita Reddy is likely to sell nearly about 1.2% stake via block deals, and offer size which we are expecting is around 1395 crore and floor price at a discount of nearly 2.3% to yesterday's closing. So all in all, looks like quite a power pack day today.
Block deals are back and how? Upasna, thank you for that update. And lastly, Sudarshan joins in with cues from the FNO space. Sudarshan, good morning. There's some resistance at that 25,150 mark with 6 days of gains. Does the FNO data indicate a 7th?
Good morning, Harma. So yesterday it was not a bad day of trade despite market giving some of the gains from days high, but good part was the Nifty managed to hold on to levels above 25,000, and as expected it expired. Weekly expiry for Nifty we saw in the range between 25,000 to 25,100. That was the indication that yesterday we were getting from the options data as well. Support, it came from Pharma Index. In the last hour of trade we saw big gains coming in for Cipla and Dr. Reddy's, and continuously like on a daily basis, one stock that has been supporting Nifty is Reliance Industry. It's the biggest Nifty contributor, and yesterday also in yesterday's session it was up almost 1%. For today, following the global cues, GIFT Nifty is indicating start with minor cuts as far as flows are concerned. As you told, can it happen 7th day? It looks like so from the data, because on the flows front in the cash market we saw buying from both FIs and DIs. FIs have bought more than rupees 1,200 crore, DIs have bought more than rupees 2,500 crore. Even in the index futures, almost 1,000 crore buying has been seen from FIs, and they have added long positions of around 840 contracts and reduced short positions of around 4,300 contracts. Long exposure remains around 10%. Now coming to the options data. 25,100 call and 25,150 call have seen very healthy additions of around 15 to 16 lakh shares, with premiums somewhere around in the range of 107 to 133. And on the put side, 25,100 to and 25,000 were the active ones. So it indicates you that Nifty's range for now will be in the range from 25,000 to 25,200. That's the reason support, first support. 2 days ago, it used to be resistance, but now it has become the support for Nifty, that is 25,015. And if it slips below that, then next support comes around 24,950. Resistance has moved higher, that is the recent high of 25,250. Stocks in the band, PG Electroplast and RBL Bank remain in the band, and one stock that has come out of the band is Titagarh, and one stock that I talked about in the opening is Reliance Industries. If Reliance continues to see buying, we'll see Nifty moving higher as well.
Oh yes, Titagarh out of the FNO ban, and more importantly might react to an order win as well, as Upasna was just highlighting a few minutes ago. Sudarshan, thank you for that FNO update. Well, take a short break. On the other side, we get you details of the decisions that were taken at the GST Group of Ministers meeting that took place yesterday. More details on that on the other side. Welcome back. Now, the group of ministers on the GST rate rationalization has accepted Centre's new rate slab proposal. The committee has recommended a two-slab structure with a 5% and 18% as tax rates and a special rate of 40%. Now, these rates will come into effect after the GST Council's approval. Now, while there was a broad consensus on the Centre's proposals, the states during the meeting also flagged concerns over an estimated revenue loss once the new proposals kick in. Now, let's go across to Timsy for what transpired at that meeting. Timsy, tell us more.
The GST Council nominated group of ministers on rate rationalization has met, and they have agreed to the proposal presented by Centre to move to the next generation GST reforms of a simplified structure of 3 slabs: 5%, 18% and 40% on sin items, which could have only limited items of about 5 to 7, including tobacco, pan masala, gutka, tobacco products and cars, to be precise. Also 5% and 18%, meaning that 99% of items under 12% will move to 5%, and 90% items in the bracket of 28% will move to 18%, removing the 2 slabs, 12% and 28%. Now to be seen, as states express their concerns in the group of ministers meeting, what will be the potential revenue loss? How will the Centre be able to assure states to make up for this potential revenue loss? How will states function if this revenue loss continues? Some of the unanswered questions which the Centre will have to take forward in the GST Council meeting, which group of minister states have also expressed upon their concerns and have been noted in the minutes of the group of ministers. To be seen now how soon the GST Council meets, how soon will there be a decision to set the ball rolling on moving to the next generation GST reforms, something that we'll have to wait and watch for.
Timsy, thank you for that important update. Moving on, speaking at an event in New Delhi, Chinese ambassador to India said that China stands with the subcontinent and blamed the US for being a bully for using tariffs as a bargaining chip. Listen in.
The United States has long been benefited greatly from free trade, but now it is using tariffs as a bargaining chip to demand exorbitant prices from various countries. The United States has imposed tariffs of up to 50% on India and even threatened for more. China firmly opposes it. In the face of such acts, silence or compromise only emboldens the bully. China will firmly stand with India to uphold the multilateral trading system with the World Trade Organization at its core.
Meanwhile, White House's trade advisor Peter Navarro, speaking to reporters, said that India's buying of Russian oil is nonsense and that the tariffs are levied on them because they cheat the US on trade and buy Russian oil. Listen in.
Prior to the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, India bought virtually no Russian oil. I mean, it was like 1% of their needs. So the argument somehow now, as the percentage has gone up to like 30 and 35%, that somehow they need Russian oil to cool their homes or cook or drive their cars is nonsense. 25% because they cheat us on trade, 25% because of the Russian oil. I ask you this, what is the net impact on the Americans because of our trade with India? Well, let's think about it. They have higher tariffs, there are Maharaja tariffs, higher non-tariff barriers. We run a massive trade deficit with them, so that hurts American workers, hurts American businesses.
And summing up the overnight session on Wall Street, where stocks ended lower, the S&P 500 declining for the 5th straight day ahead of the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole later this evening. CNBC's Julia Burstein gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were down across the major indexes in Thursday trading ahead of a major policy speech from Fed Chair Jerome Powell on Friday. The Dow falling 153 points, the S&P 500 down for a 5th straight day, it lost 25, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq down by 73 points. A New York State appeals court on Thursday threw out a more than $500 million civil business fraud penalty against President Trump and other defendants in a lawsuit brought by State Attorney General Letitia James. The court said the penalty was a violation of the Eighth Amendment because it was excessive. But the court also ruled that other sanctions against the president and the Trump Organization were, quote, well crafted to curb the defendant's business culture. President Trump claimed total victory. James vowed to appeal. And Chipotle announced Thursday it is partnering with Zipline to test food delivery by drone. Some customers in the Dallas, Texas area will now have a chance to use the delivery option dubbed Zipotle through the Zipline app. Chipotle says it hopes the unique delivery option will attract younger customers as the fast casual chain faces slowing sales. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Now, with the U.S. market facing pressure, Ed Yardeni of Yardeni Research says that the market is concerned about the Federal Reserve and does not expect the central bank to cut interest rates. Listen in.
Yeah, I think it's about the Fed meeting in September. I think there's a concern that maybe it's not 80% after all, as the odds of a Fed rate cut. If I had to put my own probability on it, it's under 50%. I'll give you 40%. I'm still in the none and done camp. I don't think they're going to cut. And they've got two more inflation numbers, and they got one payroll number ahead of them. And I won't be surprised if the inflation numbers run a little bit hot. And I think payrolls could be up 100,000.
Now, a potential candidate for the next Fed chair, Lawrence Lindsay, says that the Federal Reserve should have cut rates after the weaker than expected jobs report, but does not expect it to impact any future Fed decisions. Listen.
When I watched the chair at his press conference and read other people's comments, it seemed like the decision not to cut was in part dependent upon the solid jobs picture. And that was what they were presented with at the time of the meeting. And as Keynes said, when the facts change, I change my opinion. And that's why I suggested that, well, in fact, the facts had changed. And, the way to clean it up, I think, would have been to immediately follow through with a cut. I don't think that portends anything, though, for future Fed decisions.
Now, Wells Fargo's senior economist Sarah House talks about the concerns in the job market and adds that a September rate cut does remain on the cards.
We've been concerned about the overall strength of the jobs market, where it still remains imbalanced if you're looking at things like the unemployment rate, the openings ratio per unemployed worker. But I think the loss of momentum in hiring, and especially that I don't think this is all just from merely slower growth in the labor supply coming from immigration. So if you look at the breadth of hiring, that's been extremely narrow. And we can't rely completely on healthcare hiring to buoy all employment. So I think we are a little bit more nervous about the overall strength of the jobs market, and that leads us to expect that our base case is still that we will get a September rate cut followed by 2 more 25 basis point cuts before the year is out. But it really hinges on that labor market continuing to show further loss of momentum.
Take a short break. Cues from the commodities market on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. There's no stopping Russia right now as the country has launched a rare drone and missile attack on western Ukraine overnight. Officials have confirmed striking targets including an American-owned electronics plant and injecting further uncertainty into the US-led efforts to end the 3-year-old war between the two countries. Now, this despite a positive meeting between the US President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin last Friday. The attack Flex factory is one of the biggest American investments in Ukraine. And oil prices, as a result of which, are seeing some bit of gains. But to tell you more on that, Manisha Gupta is joining in with all the updates. Manisha, good morning. Oil prices are back on a bit of a rebound, but what are the others that you are watching out for today?
Well, yes, crude oil prices, one for sure. Because, one is, of course, the uncertainty on this resolution of the Russia-Ukraine war. Every time you have a conversation, you have a more fatal attack coming in from either one of the countries, and that doesn't really do any well for us. In the meanwhile, you've seen crude prices headed for a weekly gain. This is after 2 weeks of constant declines. There is also strong U.S. demand as you are looking at 6 million barrels of a decline in inventory in the U.S. markets in the previous weeks. That has also been supportive. And then you have to look at the Peter Navarro statements as well, which says that India doesn't want to recognize its role in bloodshed, and it's a nonsense that India needs to buy Russian oil. So those kind of statements just do solidify that we are perhaps staring at that penalty of 25% coming in from 27th of August. Markets have been hopeful that there would be some negotiations that we can, in some sense, avoid it. That doesn't seem to be happening right now. But most importantly, it is going to be about the Jerome Powell's upcoming remarks at Jackson Hole. That is absolutely in focus. Ahead of that, you have the Fed looking at a 70% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut in the month of September. Of course, we'll know more details as that meeting and as Powell's speech do come into the markets there. Ahead of Jackson Hole, we also are looking at slight softness in case of gold prices. Copper is trading at a 4-month lows. It is the US dollar index which gained up 0.5% in the overnight market, and that seems to be putting pressure on many of these metals.
Manisha, thank you so much for that update. With that, we call time on this edition of Power Breakfast. From me and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call sets you up for the final trading day of the week on the other side.